Hello everybody, this is heat number 2 from the 2022 CKNA Grand Nationals. This is the 6th Grand National. But we are right back into it. We're pulling off the grid. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, or the first video, Heat 1 video, I did not finish well and I received a 2-point penalty. So as you can see, looking out my rear camera, there's nobody behind me. I'm starting in 36th place. The 151 right there, he's in 37th. I'm not sure if somebody was missing in his row and maybe he might have been a little further up. You know, it might have moved him up one position, but nonetheless, nobody's behind him and nobody's behind me. So, you know, this is the underdog story. Everybody loves a good underdog story. So I'm going to try to come from the back and see how many positions I can make up and try to get a little more mid-pack. When you have a big race like this with pretty large fields, 30 plus go-karts, there is a lot of potential for mayhem, some havoc, all that good stuff. Not that anybody wishes for it, but if it does happen, it's, and you don't get involved in it, it is something that you can capitalize on sometimes. Again, I don't know if I mentioned this in my first video, but this is the first Grands that I've been to. I've been to one other big, large-scale race. That was the Battle at the Brickyard in 2020. That was, my first race outside of just, local club racing. And this is the second one. I'm a little faster than I was at the Brickyard, a little more knowledgeable with the kart. I've been around a little while. So as you can see, we're lining up in the tram lines. I'm just staying back, keeping my eyes out for, any type of big time crash that might happen around these first corners, because they're pretty flat out and everybody's side by side and nobody's tires are really that warmed up yet. So the potential is at its greatest during the start of the race. Got a couple of guys behind me and I'm like, okay, so I'm going to stomp into it. That's where I thought the trouble area was going to be. Turns out right here was where the trouble area was going to be. I was fortunate enough to make it through. Tried to figure a way to get around those guys, but it was just safer to get off the gas a little bit, not touch anybody, and just fall back in line. I've raced around these guys for the first race. The 7, I think we were pretty equal, but some of the other guys, at this stage I'd gotten around them pretty much every time I encountered them. Not that they're slow or anything like that, but it's just I was confident that I could get around them, so it wasn't there was no need to be smashing into anybody, to try to bang on past anybody. I had 8 laps to do it in. Each lap is, for the fast guys, about 1 minute and 15 seconds, and for me, more on the slower end of things, it was about a 1 minute 18 second lap for me. Which I believe in the first heat, my fastest lap time was in the 1:18s. So I am starting to feel a little more comfortable with the layout, getting used to going this fast. As I mentioned, I've really only done some club racing at the OVKA, which is the Ohio Valley Karting Association in the Cincinnati, Ohio area. And, we've got a nice track there, but it doesn't, you're not cruising around at high speeds like this for any length of time during a lap. But I am starting to get a little, starting to get used to it. I've got probably, I don't know, maybe about 25 or so laps in now, and it's, not really having to think about the layout. It's starting to become automatic. I know what I'm getting ready to set up for after I go through each turn, where the first few times around, I'm sitting up in my seat looking ahead, trying to figure out where I'm going to go. But at this point in the race, with that crash back there, and I believe that was what we would call turn 5, I have gotten in front of probably about 8 people now. 7, he takes that little wide, has some issues. I'm able to get under him. He's going to fall back in on my rear camera. He was pretty fast. He's a fun guy to hang out with. He was from Sacramento, California, or at least in that area. And he made the trip all the way out to do the Grands. I mean, it's a pretty big deal when it comes to this, LO206 Briggs & Stratton, motor-based racing. four-stroke racing, whatever you want to call it. The people that I talked to, he had traveled the furthest. But he was having a good time, and like I said, he's got a nice barrel back there. He's I think he was able to get lap times in the 117s, maybe the 116s at some point. But in this race, we're hanging around the 117 range. I'll go through the layout here. I haven't talked about it really in specifics. And I'll explain how I was taking it. We have another kart that went around right there that I'm up one more place. And I'm noticing this stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, I need to maintain position. I assume that now probably I am in the 20s. Where I started in 36th, I figure, hey, I'm in the 20s, and when we get to Heat 3, I'll actually have a chance to even, move up a little bit further. And I'm hoping that I'm getting faster. My gearing is starting to feel about right, and it's becoming a little more fun, and I'm getting to concentrate on going, faster instead of concentrating on remembering. I forgot to talk about the lap, so I'll just pick it up in the middle once we come around this corner up here. And all these turns have weird names. I haven't learned them all. I'm not sure, but that maybe was the green turn right there because there's all that green stuff on the side. So just pick it up right now. We're going flat out. I'm going flat out around this corner right here. You only really have to, at the beginning I was getting off the gas a little too much, but you have plenty of run out. I would imagine that the fast guys aren't even lifting through there. They're just keeping it hammered. You do have to lift off right here. The 7 ducks under me. I duck back under him, and right now I know this, for me, that wasn't going to work. So I had to drop. I had to get off the gas and drop back in on him. That right back there was called the Monza turn. It's got some banking. I had issues all through this section right here. This is probably, if I race the KRA season next year, the KRA series at Newcastle, hopefully I'll get better at going through the Monza turn, and I guess what they call the cut through back there. And all those corners right there, you can go through them flat out through this one. When listening, I listened to a few interviews of some of the guys that were faster after the race, and I'm pretty sure they can go around these with just kind of blipping the gas a little bit. I doubt very seriously they're touching the brakes. I'm hitting the brakes right going, before I go into this corner right there. Again, that green corner right there. That one, I didn't really like it. I got bogged down more than I wanted to. I will mention, if you've seen any of my other videos, I'm driving a little bit older kart. I'm not the biggest on, chassis tuning. I don't know what I'm doing half the time. And all I did during this race with my kart was basically nothing. I took some spacers out of the front. I don't even know if that was what that did anything good or bad. My main emphasis to get any faster was just to push a little harder, and mainly that was it. Push harder once I got pretty good knowledge on the track. Trust my tires going around these corners, and just give it hell basically. Because my kart did feel pretty stable. It felt like it was handling okay to me. I think when I get to the third heat, I'm just able to keep it pegged down around those turns 1, 2, 3, 4, and going into 5 pretty hard. So again, that's the green turn. I don't know what this is called right here. There's a scoreboard turn down here where I guess a scoreboard used to be. Someone was trying to explain, they kept talking about the scoreboard turn, and I'm looking all around for scoreboard, and I don't see anything, so I don't know what the heck they're talking about. And then someone did let me know that, hey, there used to be a scoreboard, but they took it down, and I think this is the scoreboard turn right here. There used to be a scoreboard over there on the infield a little bit. And this, again, leading into the Monza turn. And the number 7, got in the dirt, but I wasn't close enough to capitalize. And we're coming down. So this, obviously, start-finish line is right down here. You saw it in the Heat 1 video, but this is turn 1. Flat out, don't even have to lift. Turn 2, don't really have to lift. Turn 3, you don't have to lift. And then turn 4, you don't have to lift. When we got to turn 5, you know, the one where we had the accident in the first lap, I did hit the brakes a little bit sometimes going around there if I just felt like I was going too deep in the corner. And I was getting a little better hitting my marks, but you know, when I watch my video back, I see places where I could take something a little bit tighter, cut a little distance out of the lap, and you know, hopefully those are things I'll remember and practice when I am back out at this track in 2023. So the laps are winding down. I think we're probably going to take the white flag coming up here on the next time around. And I was able to close back a little bit up on the 7. As you can see out the back, we've got a pretty decent gap on anybody behind us, and I think the 121 was up in front of the 7, and he was pretty fast. Looking at lap times, you know, I keep track on this stuff on Race Monitor, you know, and I have a decent idea of where my times stand on, you know, versus the other drivers. And the 121 was definitely like a second faster than me. And he'd had some bad luck in the first heat, so he started towards the back, and he just kept on trucking towards the front. So we're on the last lap. I'll let the cat out of the bag. Nothing's going to change in front of me. I will finish 24th. So I went from 36th to 24th. A good chunk of that was due to some attrition, some accidents, but that's racing, you know. That's the way that stuff goes. You get your bad breaks, you get your good breaks. I got a good break in this race, and I stayed pretty clean and relatively consistent. Still not super fast. My fastest lap in this race was 117.4. The leaders were running the low 115s. So I had still a decent amount of ground to make up before I before I could really consider myself able to run solid mid-pack. I'm kind of solid last third right now. But we're coming to the checkers. I know I did better than the last race, so I'm happy. And, you know, I still have Heat 3 and the final to improve, so I'm looking forward to all that. So we will see you on Heat 3 video. Hopefully I'll get that one out tomorrow as well. Have a good one.